Hey, hello. This is going to be a follow-up to the identities, where I talk about the egos instead. So when it comes to egos, right, I want to add a disclaimer here where how I judge the egos is that I looked at base power, coin power, the effects, and the passives of the ego. In general, I also sometimes look at the cost of the ego, because if the ego is too costly for what it does, it might not be as good as you might think it is. But generally, anything that has high cost in this game is usually worth it to get. And it is worth building around that ego or considering that ego when you are building up your teams. So for example, things like representation emitter Faust. I know it has a very good passive anyway, gives it 2 clash power and 2 final attack power, so it's actually very good for base ego. The AoE is also great, and the fact that it gives SP is also great. So I considered the passives. The base damage is also pretty decent, and it has AoE, I also consider that, and I also consider the passive. Yep. And the cost is not too tricky. It's, I believe, like 4 Pride and 2 Gloom, maybe. Something like that. So yeah, considering all of that as a base ego, this is very good already. So that is how I'll be doing my analysis for most of these egos here. So perhaps, how to begin, maybe we'll talk about the base egos first. So in general, in this game, all the base egos are very good. I'll talk about why Massault has its own Massault tier, but basically, lots of these egos at base are very good. So Faust, very strong for the reasons I just said. Crow's Eye View is also a core build around, surprisingly. So the reason I put Crow's Eye View very highly is because Yisangs are generally very fast, right? So applying an attack down on a very fast character means that future characters that clash with it will benefit a lot. And it also gives haste. And it's pretty decent base power of 18. Passive you can basically ignore, but generally 3 Sloth 1 Wrath is pretty good for the effects, especially since Yisang is usually very fast. I think the weakness is that there's a pretty shit growth, but I don't think you need to worry too much about that. It's because base Yisang's growth is also around this level, so I mean, what can you do really? The fact that he can apply this and this though is pretty significant when he's very fast. So I think it's very highly rated. I actually rate this very highly, and even though I rate base Yisang really badly, I think that this ego is the reason why he is very strong, because he's usually very fast. Especially when you use someone like 7 section... is it 7 section 6? Yisang? Yeah, I think that's the one. That's 5 to 8 speed, I believe. So he's always going to go first, generally. So that means that if he can build up this ego, he can always get the attack down for everyone else to clash, which is very strong. Yep. So that's why I put it quite high. Other core build arounds, let's look at actually... okay, let's talk about Hong Lu's maybe. Hong Lu's is just strong. It's not particularly bad. Let's look at it. Hong Lu, it costs 6, but that's because it's an AoE skill. It has okay base power and a pretty good coin power, and it inflicts sinking on all targets, as well as a passive that kind of just triggers by itself as long as you has Gloom. So it's overall pretty decent as a base ego. The problem is that Gloom currently is pretty tricky to get on most characters. I mean, you could build a whole team about Gloom for this, but generally it's pretty tricky to get this when you're running like any just generic team to the content. You're probably not going to get this ego much, but it's still a good ego because sinking is nice. It does damage to Amnos, but against human enemies, I guess it reduces the clashing ability, so it's still pretty alright. And the fact that it's AoE, the fact that it's blunt, so chapter 3 pretty decent, right? Yep. So overall pretty strong. AoE skills in this game are generally quite good as long as they hit 2 targets. If they hit 3 targets, then it's already like amazing because they will be above average damage already. Especially if the target is weak to the damage type that you are dealing. So Hong Lu is still up here for sure. By the way, I'm not doing left to right power levels. I'm only doing they belong in this tier because generally if you bring this ego along, or you have to bring like the base egos along, you just build your team around that ego anyway. So it doesn't really make sense for me to compare the strength of each ego directly. It's better to just say like these are strong for the reasons why they're strong. Okay, anyway, Ishmael. Ooh, there you go. Why is Snagharpoon so good? Because of the passive, which I rate extremely highly. So, compulsion, right? Sometimes you might see this word appear. Clash power +2 in clashes whose win rate is in this unit's favor, and -2 when the win rate is against this unit's favor. One thing you need to know is that this also triggers on neutral. Why? I don't know, but it also triggers on neutral. This was tested by someone in the Discord, and I was like, wow, I can't believe it. So that's why I rate this pretty damn highly. Yeah, Clash Power +2. If you use any of the Ishmaels with good offense levels, then damn, this is going to be amazing. As well as having 19 +4 means there's very little variance that you need to deal with when you're clashing with coins that you must beat. For example, if you fight the Maw has a max of 20. So this 19 +4 has a... I mean, okay, like you still have to roll the coin to win in that situation. But I'm thinking of things that don't have a 20 max power. So if they have 19 as a max, then this thing will always win, basically. And these statuses are quite good. 6 by next turn means the guy is just going to 1 speed, right? More or less. I don't think there's much enemies that have more than 6 speed in this game, so this is guaranteeing that guy gets one-sided, so you get to do whatever you want with him. Having speed advantage over your enemies is quite significant, because that means you can just choose who you want to clash with. And then the Tremor is whatever, it's fine. Compulsion is the main thing here, and that has super high base power of 19. It's not super high, just above average actually, yeah. But most of the egos at base, right, are around 19 to 20 with few exceptions. Yeah, a few exceptions which I will talk about later. So, 2 Pathos Mathos. I actually want to say that this is a core build around, but it's actually not. But it is very strong. So, why is Pathos strong but not core? Is because in whatever team you kind of want to throw her in, right? This ego is pretty cheap to get. Pride and Sloth are very common elements to get. It has base power of 20, which means that if you fight the Maw with this, right, it always wins. There's no losing. Or if you fight Chromus, I will take your life. This guaranteed wins. Like, there's no variance at all. And it has a pretty good growth. And it has a pretty free one, damage source, as long as the target is below 50% and it applies rupture. And all these are great to have. And if the passive activates, if the unit did not get hit at all, gain damage up, she's going to explode the enemy, because damage up is multiplicative, so that's 10% more damage. So Otis's 2 Pathos is really good. I know like a lot of people in Discord like to meme about the Odyssey has a purpose. It's because you really will be spamming this skill. Otis herself charges up her own ego, like by herself, I'm pretty sure. She gives Sloth on skill 1 and Pride on skill 2. Yeah, it's so easy to get Otis's ego out that it's basically a meme. Like, you could build around it, but you don't need to. Like, you just bring Otis as base and she will just do it herself, or you just throw her in the team and the team will most likely have elements needed for her to activate this ego. So it's really good. I wouldn't call it a call around. You don't need to build around. It's just strong. It's just strong. Like, you will naturally get this ego, so it's very good. Then we got Bodysack. Bodysack is also very strong. Bodysack is one of the egos that I used a lot when I was clearing my chapter 3. Lust and Envy. So that means that he himself charges his own ego at base. As a base power of 15 though, so it will occasionally lose the clashes that you need to win with. But it gives pretty good buffs, right? Next turn attack power, next turn haste, gives him agency, it gives the speed advantage so he can choose who to attack, and then it also gives him attack power up to win those clashes. And when an ally defeats an enemy, he gets attack power, haste, and fragile, but who cares about the fragile? The attack power and the haste is pretty damn amazing. Yeah, overall very good. The one gripe I have is the skill base power is a bit low, but the stats it gives and the passive is very good, as well as only costing 4. After that we got, let's go with Sangre. Let's talk about Sangre first. Why am I putting her so low? So Dawn is a bit of a meme in that she really doesn't have very good egos. So why is this so bad? Is because it has 12 skill power at base. If you're not rolling hits, right, you're gonna lose the clashes that you want her to win. It's not like Otis's one where you 20 at base, so you're basically guaranteed to win the clash. She has 12 instead. And what does she apply as well? She applies bleed and she heals. So this is fine. And then at the start of combat phase, you self-apply haste and defense power down by your last resonance, basically. It's not worth, like, these things are not worth having to base. It's just not worth it. I need her. When I pop an ego, I generally want to win the clashes. I do. So having 12 base means that she cannot win the big coins that I'm usually popping egos for. And even when she wins, like, she needs to get hits to get the healing. And she needs to, on hit to, I mean, this bleed is like, it's only 6. Like, it doesn't really do much. None of her identities contribute to bleed teams currently. So why are you applying bleed? And this is fine, I guess, but it's divided by 2. So I really don't know. Like, it's supposed to synergize. It's supposed to make her fast, but I don't think it's worth it to activate this ego just to make her fast. Like, people like her She-section version where you have Overbreathe. Overbreathe gets skill power if she's, I believe, 10 speed, right? But if you look at the identity itself, it only has up to 6 speed. So with this, you would need to get another 3 speed, and you need to max roll in order to get the skill power. So it's very tricky to get the speed required for her to pop off. You can argue that you can also set it up by using someone like Yisang or G manager Otis, who can also provide haste if you have 2 sloth as the passive. But like, that's a bit too much effort when you could just throw other units who just do well by themselves, right? I could just throw in someone like even Ishmael, and her natural clashing power is already good enough that she will be very solo, and I don't have to worry about setting up this for Overbreathe next turn, for example, which is why I don't think too highly about this passive at all. So yeah, that is why I put her in. I don't think this ego is very interesting. I don't think it's very good. What is cast? Strong ego. Okay, what is cast? Is 1 Gloom 3 Pride. Having Gloom on the lower side is good because Gloom is harder to get, Pride is a little bit easier to get. Having base power of 15 kind of sucks, but she has a plus 13 coin power, which makes this very high in general. This is free if the target's HP is above 50%. It's the opposite of Otis's ego. And inflict bleed on hit. Like I said, like, okay, at least henchwoman, right? And Rodion are bleed focused, so this is fine, right? And then she gets slash damage up with this ego, and she loses 10 SP whenever a unit on either side dies. This basically doesn't exist because whenever you kill an enemy or win a clash, you gain SP. So on average, you will be not losing this 10 SP by the time you dies. If your unit dies though, that one is because when your unit dies, everyone takes an SP hit. So that's quite tricky to manage. But honestly, if you playing this game the way it's supposed to be played right now, where you're just clashing and winning your clashes, then this part of the passive really does not matter too much. This is just free. It's great actually. If you're using Henchwoman, who has a bit of slash, or her base form, which is all slash, if I remember correctly. Yeah, pretty free ego. I would consider it very good. Might be a bit tricky to win the clashes you want, same as Bodysack, but you know, it has pretty high rolling potential as well as a good passive, as well as this 30% damage, so it's pretty good. Next is Force of the Flames, also very good. Force of the Flames is Wrath Lust. If you're not too hard to get, 18 plus 6 is very good. It's a decent, about average base power with a plus 6 coin. Inflicts fragile next turn. Next turn stuff is always really good because that means that the next turn you can plan around the status rather than needing to accommodate for the speed, which is a bit RNG, right? So but I mean, Yisang's the exception because he's always fast, so we don't care about Yisang. But in Ryoshu's case, I don't think she's very fast, so she doesn't really want to apply the fragile this turn. So she apply next turn is very good. And at the start of combat phase, apply slash damage up and fragile by Wrath Absolute. On average, this would either get you 0 or 1 damage up because it's divided by 2. And yeah, it's fine. It's nice to have a slash damage up, especially if you're running a team that has a lot of Wrath, and that's totally fine. Yeah, it's great. Good base. Fragility is great. these about pretty okay growths and good passive. So overall very good. Sinclair goes into feels bad. Why? Same reasons as Dawn, actually, because Sinclair, right, has a very low base power of 14, very high coin growth, but also very high offense level. What does it do? It applies Rupture, and on hit, he lowers his own attack power. Yep, he lowers his own attack power. And then his passive, next turn, he applies that much attack power up. Okay, wait, let me start again. At the start of the combat phase, he gains attack power up by Gluttony Resonance divided by 2, right? But then next turn, you also lower your attack power down by damage. And the top effect does not activate. So it's a bit of an ebb and flow, right? So I activated. Now I have 2 attack power down. This effect triggers at the start of the combat phase. So I need to get some Gluttony apps. I will need to get 4 in order to counteract this one. And then after that, next turn, I will be minusing 4 attack power down. So you're starting to see that the unstable is really unstable. If you're not going to spam this ego, you probably shouldn't even try to use it. First off, the low base power, right? That kind of sucks. And the Rupture is nice, but it's on hit. But on hit, it always applies his attack power down. And he's unstable, so he sometimes also has to get attack power down turns. So unless you're spamming this to counteract the attack power down that you get, you'll be having a really hard time winning clashes with Sinclair, which is why I really don't like this ego. And if I have to activate it, I do it extremely reluctantly because it's not even guaranteed to win some clashes. Yeah, I don't see it as very interesting, really. I wish it had either higher base or it did not have this much shit on the passive or this down. Then it would be pretty okay. I mean, it's supposed to be lore friendly, right? I can't really say anything about that one. Alright, let's talk about Gregor's arm next. Pridwen here, I believe, gets the arm wrong. So if you go to Suddenly One Day, it's 12 skill power, but actually it's 14, so it's the same as Sinclair. So it's not complete garbage. So on hit, right, it has 6 random statuses, of which some you may want and some you may not want. For example, if you're not in a Tremor team, Tremor is worthless. And if you're fighting Chroma, you may not want to get these, right? So it's really a bit tricky to manage. Growth is really on the low side. Coin power is nice. And at turn start, if you are less than 25%, you heal 15 and gain 2 protection, and a random other ally loses 15 SP. This, on average, if you are already at this health, you're going to die already. So, I mean, okay, you could... I mean, yeah, it's okay. It's an okay passive. But if you're getting this low, right, I think you're losing all your clashes already, and you're getting wrecked for reasons not related to getting focused. So it's going to be a bit tricky for me to actually say that this passive actually gets value. Losing 15 SP is also a bit annoying for this effect, when there are way better other egos that like Lantern just straight up heals you, for example. So that is another ego you could consider using. Right. I don't know. This one seems very mediocre. 14 plus 12. 14 is also a bit tricky to win some big ones. The status, sometimes I want, sometimes I don't want. This passive sometimes effects, sometimes doesn't get effect. So inconsistency makes me want to put it here. That's why I put it here. Alright, any other base egos here? Let's see. Okay, I think that is all of the base egos. Yes, I want to talk about Massault. So why is Massault ego in Massault here? Is because Massault is supposed to be our commander type, where we are building up energy for him to pop, basically. He has very game-changing egos. So Chain of Others has 19 base, right? So that's about the same as Snagharpoon, 1 less than Otis's ego as well. It has really bad growths, but this low variance but high base is very significant. It can win the things that you want it to win. And the effect it does is also very good, extremely good in fact. Binding, okay, that means I get speed advantage over my opponent. 5 is very big, it's good enough. On hit, inflict 4 attack power down, that's very good, right? but it also does it for this turn and next turn. So theoretically, if you make Massault fast enough, everyone else would benefit from this, which unfortunately I don't think we have that yet. I think maybe W Massault might have enough speed to justify the on hit first. The fact that it also has a next turn attack down means that even if you're slow, you'll still get 1 turn of value off of this. And if you get hit, you get 2 protection. So overall, lots of good stuff here, right? And a refusal to judge. If you are targeted by 3 more skills, you self-apply 3 protection. This is more of a lose, in case you're losing situation. For example, when you're using End Assault in a soul run, for example, he will be getting targeted a lot and he'll be countering a lot. So this extra protections actually does come in handy in that situation. I've seen some solo End Assault runs, and he does have he doesn't, unfortunately solo End Assault does not charge this, but if this were to actually activate somehow, it would actually be pretty good. But on average, most players will not ever see this passive trigger, because if you are getting targeted by 3 more skills, it's because the enemy has a bunch of actions or you're losing. Yeah. So very, very solid. I use him for the Chroma boss fight if you want to watch that video. But in the Chroma boss fight, this basically made it super, super easy to Chroma. Like super, super easy. You just use it whenever she keeps, and then boom, next turn you win every clash. That's how strong it is. Yep. So Massault, very game-changing ego. It's a game-changing ego. I will consider all of Massault's egos something that you can consider just building around, and you'll just do so much for the fights that it's good at. Alright, talked about the bases. Let's go with the Zanes first, right? Let's talk about Zanes. The reason why I can talk about Zanes is because there's one, Legerdemain. The legendary Legerdemain. Legerdemain is the ego above all egos. First off, it has Sloth, Punchy, Gluttony, right? So that's pretty good for Gregor, because Gregor usually gives himself a lot of these elements. Now, what's so good about this is that it's 4 cost, and yet this is an AoE. Yep, it's a 4 cost with AoE. I want to show you a standard here that is being followed by every other ego. This is Lust 1, Gloom 5, 6. 4 and AoE. This is Gluttony 2, Pride 4, 6, 4 and AoE. Legerdemain is like, hey, I'm the cost 4 and the AoE. It's not even reduced, you know. It still hits 3 targets. It still hits 3 targets. What? It's insane. It has average base 18, right? Plus 5. But it's cost 4 and it's AoE. This is gonna do so much damage in an AoE. It also has Burst Tremor for some reason. It also inflicts Tremor. It also inflicts Paralysis. What? What? You already gave it cheat costs. You gave it good base and clash. I mean, this is a bit on the low side, but good base still. And then you have Burst Tremor, Tremor and Paralysis on an AoE ego that costs 4, and a passive that, by the way, how Maggots works is that you apply Maggots, it does Gluttony damage first, and then it comes into bleed. Like, huh? On hit, you know. If you have a multi-attack and you have a lot of Gluttony, you have a pretty high chance of getting a lot of Maggots. So run G Gregor, for example, and you have some Gluttony on your team, you have a pretty decent chance at eviscerating and then having 5 to 10 Maggots on the target at the end. So, good passive, right? Free damage, AoE, Burst Tremor, Tremor, Paralysis on hit, good base, okay coin power, really bad growth, but who cares? And then cost 4. This ego just breaks the mold in terms of AoE egos. I feel like if they don't buff the others, right, then like this is clearly power creep, in my opinion. You could say like, oh, what if they release Blood Resistant? Then this ego won't be as strong, right? Well, you could say that for every other ego. But this guy still breaks the mold, as in he's way more spammable AoE than any other ego. I have so many worries about why this ego even exists, but it is currently like one of the best egos in the game due to its low cost, being AoE, having a good passive. It does too much things. It does too many things. It is illegal. It is a cheater. It's hacking. It bribed Project Moon to exist. That's my opinion of this ego right now. It's up here. Like, yeah, if you the content that is normal to good at, it is going to be very good. It's going to be a great performer in your party. Alright, Zane rant over. Let's move on to Tefs. 4th match Flame Yisang. 4th match Flame Yisang is strong. Pretty simple. You see, Tefs, they usually cost I think 5, but in this case it costs 7 because it's AoE. So you see, once again, the rule of Legerdemain overrides all the Zanes, but not in this case. So in this case, 4th match Flame is a Tef, so it's supposed to cost 5 at base, but you add 2 costs because it's AoE. So the rule here is if it's AoE, you usually add 2 costs, unless it provides a lot of good effects. Okay, so let's look at it. 28 plus 8, 0.7 growth, AoE, inflict burn. Hey, that's all pretty good, right? That's all pretty damn good. And then on Clash, when you inflict burn, hey, that's pretty good. I mean, Yisang doesn't have a burn ID yet, but I mean, this is setting up for a burn ID. I suspect Yisang will have a burn ID, and this is just straight up good. 28 base power is kind of what the hell, man. Yeah, that's really, really good. So, good. Not much to talk about. It's just good. If you get it, you won't feel bad using it. You will win the clash that you need to win, and you will do a lot of extra effects as well. Right, next. Hexnail. Yes, Hexnail. I actually want to put Hexnail into core builds, but currently there is not an ID that I would want to that doesn't supports with Hexnail, if that is the right way to put it. So Hexnail, right, is a gacha ego, cost 6, so yep. And it has a pretty low base, has good coin power, really bad growth, but it has very good debuff and passive, so I put it in strong, but not core build around. But I feel it is very, very close to getting there. So what is this? So this ego inflicts Pierce Fragility and Envy Fragility this turn, right? It's not next turn, it's this turn. And hit 3 curses this turn. And has a passive that increases damage for every negative status on her. It's not on the enemy, it's on her. So right now we don't have any IDs that give her a negative status. So this is on average going to maybe give 10% if the enemy applies nail and bleed on you, for example. Yep. So only when the enemy hits you, which means you're losing, will you get the effect of this, which is fine. It's fine. It's just free damage in that situation. But if she's not fast enough, then this also will get affected. And Curse is not particularly interesting. Let me go to Curse and show you. We go to Guides, we go to Battle Effects, and we look for Curse. Okay, so on turn end, you apply one of these statuses, and then reduce the effect by this. So you have attack power down, which is amazing. Defense power down is situational. Offense level down, which is sometimes okay because you need 5, remember, to get 1 clash, and then 1 defense down, which is sure. So yeah, like on average this thing would not give you attack power down because it's 1 out of 4 chance, so you most likely get the others, and those others are only sometimes relevant. But if you get attack power down, you feel really good about yourself. So overall, this skill is alright. It's alright. Yeah, it's alright. I feel like it's very close to being very good though, because just for the passive, right, I can really foresee an ID that debuffs itself and gets a lot of extra damage. It's also possible that we might have a event boss or maybe a railway boss that applies fixed number of negative statuses on everyone, and then boom, whoa, now we get 50% extra damage. Whoa, look at that. Yeah, so this has situations where it might be very good, and overall it is okay. Yeah, so that is my opinion of it. Strong. Next Tef, let's talk about Impending Day. Impending Day breaks the mold. Well, not really breaks the mold. Okay, wait. So looking at Lantern, it costs 5, right? So Lantern will be my average. And then Sinclair's Impending Day is also 5, so that's pretty good already. It's from Battlepass free, which is really nice, so everyone should get this. So Impending Day is strong. There is no question about it. Impending Day is a strong ego. It is strong because it has 28 base, and even if you get the coin roll, it's still 20. So on average, you will win most of the big clashes in the game currently. Decent growth of 0.7. That's really the average. Extra damage if targets go, that's free, so you don't have to think about it. If it is below 25%, he is going to kill, more or less. And on kill, you gain attack power up and heal all allies for 15% max HP. So one of the arguments is that if you are hitting someone below 25% with an ego, is it actually that worth it? You're paying 5 to get this, and I would say it actually is worth it. But it depends on the situation. Are your allies kind of low? Are you doing railway? Are you doing a dungeon where healing is very nice because there's no healing stations coming up? Then yeah, this is a very good one. And also, the on-kill giving attack power up is really nice to have. I think one thing people say also is that Life Offering, it does not trigger on the turn you activate the ego. So if you pop the ego and you kill, you get this effect, but you don't get this effect yet. This effect only comes into play after this skill has activated, so it's not a free ego. It is pay once, from now on you will get extra resources. That's how this ego works. A little bit of a win more passive, but hey, it's pretty good still. Defeat the enemy with an attack or counter, you gain 5 ego resource. That's free energy, free sin energy. And I think for Railway, this could be a very good ego in general. Yep. So overall, very, very good. I would not consider it a core build around, but when Railway comes out, I might change my mind, depending on how Railway is designed. If I can farm a lot of energy using Sinclair and still get the 50 turns, then I think this would be very good. Or if I need a healing, for example. Yeah, it's a overall very strong ego for sure. After that, let's look at Lantern Gregor, right? So this guy is like, he's actually like my benchmark for all egos in the TEF region, because okay, cost 5 average, average skill power of 16-ish. 16 to 18 is around the average in my opinion. Then 16 to 17 is around average, and 18 to 20 is about above average. Really low growth, plus 8 coin power, base of 16. Heals on hit, heals for 60%, so it's lifesteal. And after defeating an enemy that has rupture, you heal by this amount. It's just average with healing. So it's very self-sustained. Gregor himself charges Lantern by itself, but Gregor also charges Legerdemain, so you see the dilemma here. Why would I use this rather than Legerdemain? But overall, it's average. Yeah, it's average. Like, theoretically, if you don't need to cast Legerdemain for a long while, you can just store up all your energy in an ego twice in one turn, for example. Though this could be the other one, because Gregor can fund this by itself also. Yeah. So yeah, this is like one of the most average egos in the game. It provides healing, it has okay average skill power, it has okay coins, it has really bad growth, but that's whatever. And it costs 5 as a TEF. So yeah, it's average, but still pretty good when you activate it. It's just that sometimes you won't get the benefit of this effect. If people feel too strongly, then maybe I will put it in middling. But actually, I think it's fine where it is. It's like, okay, if I use it, will I regret? If he wins the clash, then hey, it's fine, right? Yeah, that's the idea here. Don't really need to think about the extra effects. Although he is like the average of average egos. Alright, next one after Lantern is Rimeshank. Rimeshank is a core build around, but it's not here yet. So, Rimeshank, for a TEF. You remember how I said, like, TEFs usually cost 5 plus 2 for AoEs? This one is 5 plus 3, so it's 8 for AoE. Baba Yaga, 15 base is not very good. It's below average. Coin power is great. AoE, free damage if the target is above 50%, burst tremor, and apply sinking count. The core build around part really comes into play when you look at the passive. If the target had 5 sinking, inflict 1 bind and attack power down. So the thing is, right, we need to apply enough sinking, and if you know what sinking does, is whenever you hit the target, one sinking count gets removed. So it's gonna be a bit tricky to get this one, in my opinion, because you want it to trigger like as many times as possible. Of course, inflicting 1 is already pretty nice. Attack power down is quite significant. It's just that on average it's really gonna be 1 right now. There's no amount of sinking support, I would say. I mean, this inflicts sinking count, which is fine. I'm not sure really. I feel like in the future this is going to be a sinking staple. Yeah, that's my opinion of it. Battle Pass free, so the funny thing is the Battle Pass Eagles are all crazy good. And Legerdemain is a free one. Fluid Sac Faust is a paid one, for example. Yeah, so all of them are really good. And this one, I feel, is going to be very good in the future. Yeah. It's going to be a core build around, because inflicting 3 bind and 3 attack power down on the boss, for example, is kind of insane, right? Yeah. I have very high hopes for this Ego. I feel that because its AoE is already good enough to activate, so if you go to chapter 3 and you can activate this, you probably should activate this. It's a lot of damage. So yeah, very, very good Ego. Definitely put it up there alongside the rest of them as a core build around, because in the future it's going to be core build around and it's very strong damage because of the AoE nature. You're only paying 1 more for the extra effect, right? So I will gladly pay 1 extra cost for that extra passive effect if it could work in the future. So that's why I put it very high. Next, we talk about Roseate Desire. So this is a theft, right? But it costs 6 and it's not AoE. So let's get that out of the way first and then look at the actual things it does. 19 plus 9. That is pretty good and that is pretty nice. Growth is okay. I mean, honestly, all Egos have around this growth, so I really have nothing to say about that, because the high base already makes up for it. It's going to win the clashes you want it to win. And then we look at this, defense power down and defense down, and then target of the top left, Lust Resonance divided by 4, Fragility next turn. On average, you're not going to get this unless you really build a team full of Lust. And I mean, it's nice, I guess, these effects when the enemy has defense skills, which most enemies do have, but it's not significant enough to justify for this effect only. But the fact that it has good skill power and decent coins is good enough, I say. I think the problem here is that it costs 1 more than a normal Theft Ego. But I think Honglu really doesn't have much good Egos, honestly. So I don't know. It's alright. When you activate it, you will win the clash. The effects you just maybe won't feel it at all, on average. Yeah, I'll still put it strong. Now that you see like how many people I put in strong, you wonder what's in middling. Now I'll explain why that guy is in middling. Okay. Next is Roseate Desire Ishmael. So Pridwan got this one wrong. It is not 29 plus 13, which is an insane number, by the way. Like, if it's 29, it's winning every clash, but the fact that it's plus 13 is also insane. I think this is like minus 13, so this is like this had a 16 base, yeah, 16 base plus 13 coin power. I think it was around there. This is not real. If this was real, this is S tier right now, because I'm paying 5 for this. It's kind of nuts. Okay, then let's look at what else it applies. It implies offense level down and paralysis. Okay, offense level, right? Remember how I said it was 5 to get +1 or -1 clash? So 4 is very close. So that is going to be significant. And then furthermore, we got paralysis, which means that if she goes fast, which I'm not sure if Ishmael is very fast. She's just alright, in my opinion. So this may not come into play too many times, but it is nice to have. And then this one, on Clash Win, inflict pink ribbons and bind. So what is pink ribbons? There are 2 pink ribbons, but the one that we're looking at is the bottom one. This one is Desirous, which is the mechanic for the boss. So count increases by 1 whenever the affected unit costs an attack skill coin. At the end of the turn, inflict bind by the effect's count, then remove the status. So whenever the unit with the pink ribbons attacks, they get additional count, and at the end of the turn, you inflict bind by that count. So we are going to inflict 3 pink ribbons and bind next turn. So that's extra bind, right? And pink ribbons is going to increase count when the enemy attacks. And then next turn, bind them. So this is going to do a lot of speed manipulation. I would actually consider pushing this into core, because speed manipulating is a very interesting concept for future fights. Because if you have the ability to choose whoever you want to target at all times, then yes, it is very good. And furthermore, this is on Clash Win. And remember Compulsion from Snagharpoon? So on average, she's going to win way more than usual because she has that additional +2 Clash power. So on Clash Win, she will inflict Blind. So this is a very consistent passive. All you need to do is activate this ego, which is a pretty normal price for a TEF. And it has pretty okay clashing as well, and good effects here. Yeah, it's pretty damn strong, and I will consider core in the future when I go and play around with it in maybe Railway, because I think speed manipulation is going to be quite interesting as a design in this game. So yeah, Roseate Desire, you're strong. Maybe core in the future. Alright, next let's talk about Wishing Cairn. Wishing Cairn is also strong, but it has a problem in that it is that his passive is kind of like whatever. It gives blunt protection and sloth protection, which is nice. It's free, it's consistent, it's great. The thing is, like, it's a specific protection, that's the problem. If the enemy doesn't do this, then this doesn't really benefit. But for the content that it does benefit, it's amazing. It will be very, very good if you bring him for okay, blunt protection, right? So if you bring Yisang and you fight the Helmet Boys, it's very good. The problem is the ID. The ID itself is usually weak to blunt. So I really don't know what to say about that one. Right now, yeah, it suffers from a lack of Yisang IDs, I think. Actually, okay, so if we look at the IDs, Yisang here is normally resistant to blunt. I know his base is weak to slash for some reason. And this one is weak to blunt. Okay. I don't know, all 3 of them... Yeah, I don't think there's much support for this one. Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. The blunt protection might not be enough if he is fatally weak to the blunt. But if he is normal resistant, then it will be quite significant. The problem is that tanking stuff is usually not important. If you can clash and win, then you don't have to tank, right? Yeah. And then we have Pagoda Veneration is very good. Like, it's 32 plus 4. Like, you can't really ask for more with this. It's gonna win everything that you need it to win. Sloth Fragility, usually he's fast, so no problem. Paralysis Resistant, no problem, he's fast. So overall, very good. This one is the sus one, because blunt protection may not protect enough if you're fatally weak to blunt. Sloth Protection, I don't know, this one's tricky to judge, but the fact that it's a consistent passive is very nice. So on the content that it's good at, it's going to be very good. I'll just leave it at that, I think. I think that's the easier summary. Good base, inflict fragility, he's fast, doesn't matter. Passive that's consistent. So if you bring against blunt and sloth, yep, that's it. Very good. Very, very good. In fact, you might consider it a core build around if you wish to make your Yisang, if you wish to make your Yisang tanky. It's Gloom and Sloth also. This ratio is pretty good. Most units can provide a Sloth, and 1 Gloom is pretty alright to get. Alright, after that, let's look at who's next. Let's see. Next is Sunyata. Yep. Okay. Sunyata is also a strong ego. So, Tef, cost 6, right? So I'm paying 1 extra. What am I paying 1 extra for? I'm paying 1 extra for the utility. So, after attack, heals herself for 18 SP and gives attack power up to 2 random allies. So, that utility I will gladly pay for because attack power is significant. Healing SP is nice at the start of the fight. Good base power of 19, so will on average win most things that you need to win. Inflict 2 Lust Fragility. Otis is generally pretty fast, so this is fine. Turn start, gain 1 Lust damage up. That is okay, I guess. I can't think of any Lust moves right now. And then gain 1 more at less at 0 SP. This one may not happen at all, because if you're winning clashes, you're going to just not have 0 SP. Let's be real. Cool boss mechanic that forces this, then it'll be really good. But right now, doesn't really see much use. But everything else here is very good. I'm paying 1 extra for a lot of good stuff here, so I'm willing to pay that. Very strong unit. Very strong ego. Okay, lastly, Hurtily. Battlepass, so you can expect it to be game changing. Alright, so we got 5 costs here. 33 base, plus 4. Wow. Growth 0.82. Oh. And furthermore, after attack, gain 3 protection, gain 1 surgery, hit, inflict 3 paralysis. God damn. Are you gonna give me more stuff? Yep, I'm gonna give you more stuff. If you played Library of Ruina, you know about Fervent Beats. That gives you 3 attack power up, defense power up, and haste. But you die in 3 turns. Well, here it is again. You need to use this ego at less than 25% HP, and then you get Fervent Beats for 3 turns. Very, very good passive. Tricky to activate, but very, very good when you activate. What is gain 1 surgery? Now that is where this passive and this start to finally get to see the real picture of what's going on here. So surgery, you die when you reach 5, you reduce max HP by 20%, and you deal 20% more. And at the start of the turn, you self-apply haste by your amount of surgery. So what happens is that when you're getting a lot of surgery, you start to lose HP. So when you take hits, you will lose a lot more percentage-wise. So once your HP reaches a certain amount and you get dropped 25%, you start to do this. So this is a Massault Ego, right? So this belongs in the Massault tier. And the reason why is because it's game changing. It changes how Massault is built. Massault becomes a DPS with this. I'm sacrificing my health, I'm gaining protection, and then if I get to here, I become a demon god. I gain 3 attack power up, so I'm going to win every clash. I'm going to get so much haste that I can choose who I want to beat up. And this thing just wins like this. Like, whew, game changing indeed. This ego transforms your Massault into a DPS. And I firmly believe that in the future we will get content where this ego will be abused to beat the shit out of a boss in a DPS race. Yeah, this ego has like one of the biggest potential in my opinion. I really, really love it. I also want to mention the corrosion version. So usually corrosions have negative effects. This one does not. This one gets... Corroded usually is indiscriminate targeting. This one is not. You can choose who you want to target. Instead, you gain 2 surgery, you inflict paralysis, and you raise your stagger threshold by 30% of the damage dealt, which I think is on the enemy. So it's still all good. Like, huh? Battlepass ego belongs to Massault, so they decide like, hey, we're not going to add discriminate attack here. We're just going to let him choose who he hits. Alright then. Okay, I guess this ego is just built different, just like Massault. Built different. Alright, and that is all in the F. I could be overvaluating this one because it does cost quite a bit to get to the surgery level you want, but I think it's very fun to have this kind of ego that transforms you from a tank into a DPS, and I want it to be good. I really, really want it to be good. I'm putting in the Massault because I think it is a game-changing one. It will take a while to get there though, in terms of surgery. I wish the surgery carried over somehow, then Railway could be very interesting. Alright, let's go to the He's. Jeez, alright, I mean, she's just sitting there staring at me. Fluid Sac Faust, let's look at her first. Alright, so let me set the standard for energies for these guys. So, normally He's are 6 cost. 6 cost here, 6 cost here, and 6 costs here also. Wait, no, you are 7, right? I'm paying a premium for something, right? I think Ardor? No, Ardor is also 7. Okay, 6 to 7-ish, basically. So these are the lowest costers in the He area. Fluid Sac is 4 plus 3 plus 2. That is 9. So I'm paying 3 more. Is it worth it to pay 3 more in this situation? Pretty good. It's pretty worth to pay. First off, low growth. I mean, whatever. Skill power 16 plus 8. This is rough, really. But if you use this on a move, that you will win most of the time. This is an AoE, but it doesn't say here, but this is an AoE that targets 5. Okay, no, maybe not 5, maybe 4. I think it's 4. It targets 4. After attack, it heals all SP, so it's like her base ego. And it also heals all allies for 50% max HP. And it applies 2 protection to ally with the lowest HP, which can be herself. So 4 AoE, SP, health, protection. When you need to use this, despite the high cost, it is worth it. I don't think I need to elaborate. This just looks worth it. The cost is a bit hard, but worth. Alright, end of Fluid Set talks. Next, we'll go to let's see, Quixote. Yeah, Quixote is also a Battlepass ego, and is likewise also pretty damn good. I'm on the fence with her. I think it could be a core build around, but I don't think it's at that level. It's just good. So, Tef, I mean, He's are 6. This is 6 plus 1. Gloom, Pride, Lust. So this is 7. So I'm paying 1 extra for something. And it's a lot of something here. So it's good. Skill power 20, very good. Plus 18, wow, what the hell. Okay. Burst Tremor, great. SP damage, okay. And if target is staggered, low morale, or in panic, deal 30%. What? Yeah, so if you use this ego on a staggered target, you might argue that it's a little bit troll because you're not clashing, you're not winning with this crazy good skill power. But 50% more on this? Kind of huge, huh? It supports Bursting Tremor and it deals SP damage, so it also can make enemies go into this phase, which will also make this do more damage. So wow, right? Looking good so far. And then after that we got this one that is kind of great, right? Wave of Depression. Target on the rightmost on the dashboard. Loses SP up by 2 times Gloom apps. Okay, the problem here is that it's Gloom. So a bit tricky depending on the IDs you bring to get the Gloom. But if you do bring a Gloom, this is very easy to get this effect. Well, not easy, I guess it just contributes. Yeah, it just contributes. And especially if you pop this, is 25, so that's like a huge chunk of the way there already to a negative 45 SP. Yeah, this is kind of insane. This ego is just really good in general. The problem is that I'm paying 7 for a single target. But that's not really a problem, right? That's not really a problem. I'm paying 1 extra for so much. Yeah, I think it's worth it. Screw it, it's worth it. Next, looking at... who should I look at next? Next is 4th Patch Flame Ryoshu. 4 plus 6, plus 2, yeah, so 6. That's about average. 21 plus 16, nice. Skill power plus 2 against burn, nice. On kill, whoa. On hit, yo, okay. And then every 4th skill use gains plus 4 final power, huh? And inflicts 4 burn with each of his attack. So yeah, millions of things. It's a battle pass, that's why it's strong. But yeah, millions of things here, as well as ridiculously high growth. 4th Match Flames are generally just great to have in your party. So yeah, really, really good. Really, really good. It would be even better if she had a fire applying ID, which I think with this ego, it implies that there might be. So could be very, very good in the future. But right now, it's just very good. Okay, next, Pursuance. Well, this one is a Massault tier by default. It belongs to Massault. And why? It's a game changer. I'm paying 4, 6, 7. So I'm paying 1 extra for what?
a lot. You're paying for a lot. This is a gacha one, by the way. So this is like the only gacha ego I would recommend people actually try and reroll for, because it is pretty damn awesome. 26. It wins everything. Plus 8. That's nice. Growth. Don't talk about the growth. It's fine. Next slot. Heal to others for 30%. There's no threshold. It's just a heal for 30%. Fluid Sac was 15% all. This is 30% for 2, which is more applicable usually because not everyone's going to be really low, right? So 15% for all, your lowest HPs will still be pretty low. But this one is, hey, your lowest, get them back up. Now they are safe. They're not going to get one shot. Whoa. And give them 2 protection. What? That's kind of huge. And then, I don't know why they gave him Burst Tremor, but they gave him Burst Tremor. And then Revelation from above, after winning a clash with the leftmost skill in the dashboard, apply attack power or defense power. This is just a bonus. I don't know what leftmost skill like really means here. I think it means that an ally who's the fastest wins a clash, then a random ally will get this. So it doesn't even need to be him winning the clash. It's my interpretation of this wording right now. I don't really know if it means like the leftmost skill of Mersault's ID, for example. Which honestly, if you look at most of his IDs, the clashing power is not super great, so it might be tricky to get this one. But when it does trigger, it's just nice to have. It's 50-50, so you know, on average, I would be happy to get this. And defense power up, well, if I get it, I won't feel anything about it. I'll just feel like, I could have got the attack power up. So yeah, I'm paying 1 extra for so much good shit. Worth. In fact, yeah, core build around Mersault. Yeah, boom, there you go. Alright, Pursuance rated. Next. Let's see. Next is Telepole. Telepole is middling. And why do I put him middling? So Telepole here. Sorry, my mic got tilted a little bit. Just readjusting the mic. Okay. Yeah, so Telepole, 3 Ref, 2 Lust, 3 Envy. 5, 8. Paying 8, right? For an AoE, which is okay, fine, sure. 33 by 12. So pretty decent base, pretty good growth. So the reason why I put him in middling, right, is that I don't want to say this charge count part is good. So the whole point of this ego, I believe, is to give the charge count to Rabbit Thief, right? Because that's the only ID that has charge count currently. But when you look at this, he gains charge count by the Envy Resonance. Okay, sure. Envy is a bit tricky to get, honestly. Spend 5 charge count to get 3 skill power, so I'm taking away the charge count if I had it. And then if it lands tails, then I get the charge count. I mean, okay. And then passive is you gain charge by Envy app spelled by 2, rounded down, I believe. So it's a consistent passive. It's just that how are you gonna get this Envy Resonance? It's very middling. Like, okay, I can justify paying this amount for an AoE that does pretty decent damage, but then for the rest of the skill, is like, I kind of don't care. It's very middling. And also, besides paying 8 for an AoE for the damage, right, there are other things that are actually better to activate for this class. Fluid Sac in certain situations, and Ebony Stem, which I'll talk about in a bit. So I don't really get why I should be using this ego. It gives him the charge count on tail hit. It's not even guaranteed. He gains charge count on Envy Res, which is weird. You need quite a lot to like trade off for this charge count thing. And then tail hit to get charge count. It's not even guaranteed. Telepole Dawn gains charge count on hit. Like, why can't I just change this? Just change this to hit, please. And then, I don't know. This ego just feels very middling. I wouldn't mind paying for this, but I don't want to get... All these are so inconsistent. It's like anti-synergy, honestly. Which is why I kind of don't like it. I mean, you could argue that it could be strong also, but it's very middling in my opinion. I don't know. If you guys have your own arguments for that one, feel free to paste so that I can decide for real, and then I'll just delete the middling because middling doesn't exist there. But this guy is really on the fence. Truly on the fence. I don't know whether it's worth it. I can't think of any uses right now, basically. Anyway, Ardor, Blossom, Ishmael. Ref 4, Lust 2, V1, 7. Alright, so I'm paying 1 extra for what? A lot. I'm paying 1 extra for a lot. I'm playing for plus 22 here. Raises stagger threshold by 40% of damage dealt. This is on the enemy on hit, so well, if you hit hitting, the guy is going to explode. Inflict burn by rest, sure. Inflict 3 burn to 3 random. Whoa, nice. And then a passive that's consistent and does good damage. If the target has a burn, you take 1 burn. The problem is there is no burn identity for Ishmael. I hope Hell's Kitchen adds those, because if they do, then it burns back on the menu, boys. But yeah, I'm paying extra for all this. Pretty worth. I don't think I need to say much. It's just good damage, good clash. It will win the things you need. It has so many good stuff going for it. Very good. Weep. In fact, I will put a core build around for a burn team in the future. I'll also put 4 flame build around, actually, if there is a burn team in the future. It's just that they're not there currently, so people don't really notice. And there's no IDs that burn for these guys, so there's no point. Alright, who's next on the list? Another 4th patch flame, Rodion. Rodion's actually one of the more okay ones. She's not particularly amazing, but she does alright. 38 base, wow. 18, that kind of sucks. It will drop to 20, but still wins. Burn, Ref Rigidity next turn, sure. And defeating an enemy that has burn heals HP by this amount of Ref Absolution. Absolution? Resonance, whatever. Absolute Resonance, yeah. I mean, overall, just good. Not exactly a core build around, because this heal is only for herself. This Ref Fragility though could be good in a burn team, because burn characters usually have a lot of Ref in a kit. I don't know. Not as defining as these guys. They have so much going for them, so it's very defining. And then lastly, Ebony Stem, the last one of them all. A very built different one, because it is a Battlepass ego. Telepole is the exception, because Telepole is middling, but it's also Battlepass. But overall, Battlepass egos are just pretty good. So, out of all the egos for she pays the most. Lust 2, Gluttony 3, Gloom 1, Full Pride. So that is 5 plus 5, 10. You're paying 10, right? The 10, what are you paying for? You're paying 4 extra, right? You're paying 4 extra. What are you paying for? First off, let's say 2 of them goes into the AoE, because it's a 5 target AoE. You pay 1 for the great skill power and coin power, and you pay 1 more for literally everything else, which is already saying too much. The extra 1 there is already too much. First off, you have bleed, whatever, right? But 2 Gluttony Fragility on an Otis that's usually pretty fastish. Not super fast, but kind of fast. And then we got a passive that is permanently gain 1 pierce damage up. On hit with hits, inflict 1 bind and 1 rupture. What? It's rupture count, by the way. Bind count and rupture count. What? Oh wait, no, is it separate? No, sorry, it's separate. It's 1 bind and plus 1 rupture count. Sorry. But still, it's... Wow, rupture core. Core rupture. But cost though. But 5 AoE. Good base. Many things. Rupture count. Pierce damage. I don't think I need to say more, honestly. This thing sells itself. Yeah. I guess the argument is that instead of activating this one time, I could activate a bunch of other egos for way cheaper. And you would be correct. And yet, you cannot deny that this is a very powerful ego. AoE 5, you will be doing a lot of damage for that payment. So I think it is still worth it. That in wave battles, especially enemies that are just weak to pierce, whew, that's an ego right there. That's an ego right there. Definitely a core build around ego. Okay, and I think that is everyone rated. There is no ego that's garbage. Every ego has a use. It's just, it feels really bad to use like some of these because of their low base power. But they do have their uses. They do still win most clashes in the game, with exceptions being clashes where rolls go really, really high. And then you have to pray RNG. The fact is, I've also had some confirmation bias maybe, where when I use these egos here, I feel really bad using them. Wait, let me delete. Oops, sorry, she's here. Yeah. Okay, and yeah, it feels really bad to use these ones. in comparison, like everything else here feels fine or amazing to use. But this one, these three, yeah, not so great. The good news is that, I mean, actually no, not good news is that they're base. So you can't not get rid of them. And bases are usually the cheapest, so they're the first ones you want to fire to win a clash. I don't know. I could be convinced somehow if there was maybe a new ID or something, but these guys just feel mediocre compared to everyone else. Everyone else just feels strong and core. So yeah, that's my tier list. Once again, if you don't like it, just don't care then. Just build whatever egos you want, use whatever teams you want. The content right now, really not much to talk about. There's not a lot of content that requires super optimized, super 000 ID teams to just go and clear. It's not like I need my Surtur, my Ayapala, my Silver Ash, my Hong Lang Day to go and beat this content easily or within a certain amount of terms. No such thing. We can use whatever you want to clear whatever you want right now. Railway is supposedly our endgame content, so we have to see later. I will redo this tier list when Railway comes back and I experiment a little bit and see what other people are doing also. Yeah, but for now I think this is what you should be. This should be pretty okay in my opinion. Can be argued for some things to move up or down, but hey, that's all tier list, right? If you are here for re-rolling, then I would say when you gacha, try and get Pursuance. Otherwise, you don't really need to gacha for anyone. And then is Battle Pass worth it? Yes, Battle Pass is worth it. Cause look at how many Battle Pass egos I put here, and here, and here. There's only one middle, basically. And I think that might be a selling strat, making the egos in the Battle Pass good so you feel like you get your money's worth. So yeah, if that's the case, then yes, I would say Battle Pass is worth it. And I did buy it. So I'm not true F2P, but I'm using base IDs only, right? Okay. Anyway, that's all for this video. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments. Also, if you have any suggestions on what I can do for content or what I need to see or what you want to see, then just post it. I will do my best to pump out the videos. I really like this game, so I just need some video ideas so I can try and pump those out. Yep. Alright, thanks for watching, guys.